What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Danny. I hope y'all have a wonderful holiday season. It is that time of year again. It is the time of year where every film YouTube channel decides to compile a list of their favorite movies of the year. Newsflash, I'm no different. I love ranking movies. It's one of my favorite things to do on this planet. Besides reviewing movies, watching movies, going to movie theaters. Unlike some other channels, I will be keeping my list down to 10 films because if I did top 20 movies of this year, I would be talking for at least 5 hours, and I'm gonna leave those 5-hour videos to Quentin Reviews. There were also tons of movies that I wasn't able to get to this year. I think some of the potential movies that would have been on this list could include The Whale or Broker. Personally, I loved 2022. I thought it was a great year for movies, and I know that it was a very polarizing year for film. A lot of viscerality, a lot of bodily functions, and a lot of human contact happened in a lot of movies that came out this year. Sure, we had our few bad movies, Halloween Ends, Don't Worry Darling, Amsterdam, but I was pleasantly surprised. A lot of my expectations were met, and I was super happy with the final products of a lot of my favorite directors and writers. But that's enough of me speaking, isn't it? Let's just get into the video, shall we? I mean, we don't got that much time left in this year anyways. Glass Onion, written and directed by Rian Johnson. This 2022 whodunit comedy had become one of my most anticipated movies of the year due to my love of its predecessor, Knives Out. Though I am not sure if this movie will age as well as Knives Out, I do know it was a fun ride nonetheless. Maybe I'm a sucker for movies where most of the characters are deeply or beyond flawed. Who knows? I personally love the character of Benoit Blanc, regardless of what people say about how Daniel Craig did his accent in this movie. I thought the incorporation of some climate change-based theming with clear and hydrogen-based alternative fuel was amazing. I love the metaphor for a glass onion, and I feel as if Rian Johnson might be one of the only people to be able to nail an entire movie based on the name of a song. Triangle of Sadness. Triangle of Sadness was an extremely personal experience for me. Don't ask why. I love when I watch a movie and as soon as the credits roll, I'm like, God, I need to watch this again. I've never loved being frustrated with the cast of characters more in my life than I did with this movie. This was one of the many movies that fed into the overall visceral and bodily themes of film and television this year with the infamous dinner party scene. I love the divisions of the acts, another trope that has taken the film industry by storm this year in a lot of what I watched. Harris Dickinson is way better in this role than the prequel of which I will not speak of, and Charbly Dean will always be a star to me. Barbarian, written and directed by Zach Cregger. A horror movie with Justin Long in it. Need I say more? Barbarian was one of the first horror movies in years that made me jump out of my seat in the theaters. Kudos to Zach Cregger for being able to deliver one of my favorite horror movies in the last 10 years. Not to mention, Georgina Campbell and Bill Skarsgård delivered some of the best performances as well. I fell in love with Tess as a final girl and her relationship with Mother. I also felt like she embodied this divine feminine rage that radiates through a lot of final girl characters like Ellen Ripley and Sydney Prescott. Decision to Leave, co-written by Jang Seo-kyung and Park Chan-wook. Park Chan-wook could direct paint drying for 6 hours, and I would still watch and give it a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. This is a delicious and enticing crime thriller that is following the stressed and sleepless detective who is investigating the murder of Ki Do-soo and his infatuation with the potential suspect Seo Rae. This movie had me crying for 4 hours after I turned it off. The ending is a classic gut-wrenching ending from Park Chan-wook, and he is truly a master of the craft of filmmaking. The distinct linguistic choices of each person in this film, especially Seo Rae, added another layer of intimacy not just between the characters, but between the audience and the film itself. There are few directors that have managed to make me feel this emotional over every single film I have seen of theirs. Nope, written and directed by Jordan Peele. Yes, I know I already made an entire video talking about some of the theming of Nope, and I will be linking it right here. Go definitely check it out if you're a fan of the movie. Even though it wasn't his most well-received movie, As someone who loves when movies talk about the concept itself or theming around the film industry, I eat it up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We all know the cast is downright near perfection, and I love the polarization between the character pairings, which I also talked about in my video. Jean Jacket is one of my favorite creatures in a creature feature film of all time, and I will say that confidently. The pacing in Nope had me feeling like I was lost in the world of the movie for a lot longer than I actually was. Babylon, written and directed by Damien Chazelle. I am so glad I am able to experience Damien Chazelle's most polarizing movie to date in real time, and guess what? I'm in love with it. Babylon tells the story of Hollywood in transition between the silence to the talkies era, and the introduction of the Hays Code into the film industry. If there are three things Damien Chazelle loves, it's jazz, the movies, and singing in the rain. He made sure to include all three in the movie, of course. And once again, you had Justin Hurwitz, composing a soundtrack of jazz fusion and cosmic funk that I will be listening to until my ears bleed. This movie is definitely one you need a dedicated day to, due to that 3-hour and 9-minute runtime. I also just love putting a movie that is getting slammed by the critics on a top 10 list. It makes me feel unstoppable. Banshees of Inisherin, written and directed by Martin McDonagh. I honestly don't know what I would do if a former best friend of mine threw his fingers at my door. Anyways, the In Bruges team-up happened again. The Banshees of Inisherin is a heartbreaking tragicomedy about the end of a friendship starring Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell. McDonagh won the Golden Osella for Best Screenplay for this film, and I must concur. These two characters, Padraig and Colm, show two of the most common ways people combat the concept of loneliness, and I love McDonagh's take on male rage in this historical time period he picked of 1923. Burning Days, written and directed by Eamon Alper. Another political crime thriller for the win! I talked a little bit about Burning Days in my film festival video, but yes, this movie definitely made it into my top 3 for the year. Burning Days is such a fascinating and gripping political thriller about a sinkhole problem in rural Turkey due to political corruption and improper ways to get water into the rural towns. The main character, Emre, is a great personification of moral ambiguity. The soundtrack was also extremely eerie at times and made these aerial shots that we were presented with more gut-wrenching for some reason. I loved the cliffhanger ending, literally and figuratively. Bones and All, directed by Luca Guadagnino and written by David Kajanish. If you're putting Timothée Chalamet and Luca Guadagnino on a set together, y'all know I'm gonna sit myself down in the most comfortable movie theater seat I can find with the biggest tub of popcorn. From the moment I heard Bones and All had been greenlit, I knew I was gonna eat this up, literally and figuratively. I'm pretty sure I fell in love with Taylor Russell during this movie as well. It's gross, romantic, sad, and feels like a fever dream the entire time. Trent Reznor did the composing for Bones and All, and personally I think that was one of the best decisions made in general in 2022. The sound design was also insanely crunchy, and you gotta hear all that munching, slurping, and cracking. Everything Everywhere All at Once, written and directed by Daniels. Do y'all know how many times I've talked about this movie in therapy this year? Anyways, Daniels managed to write and direct one of, in my opinion, the most beautiful movies of the 21st century. I know, it's a pretty bold claim. Thank God film is subjective, am I right? This movie tackles so much in such little time, from mental health to race to parenting, sexuality, and classism. It is able to nail the mark on every single theme discussed directly or indirectly. Stephanie Hsu captured one of the most relatable performances for myself I have ever seen in a movie, minus Frances Ha. Jojo Tobaki is one of the most iconic characters in film history. I'll spare the comparisons though. Once again, I love the division of the acts and how it was the title of the movie in whole. Some honorable mentions include X, directed by Ty West, Woman Talking, directed by Sarah Polley, and Bodies, 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 directed by Helena Regin. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope y'all enjoyed. Make sure to comment down below what your favorite movies of 2022 were. I am so excited for what 2023 is going to bring for this channel, and I hope y'all have an amazing new year, and I'll see you soon.